All right. There we go. You're there. We're good.
Here.
Oh, my God. Technology's working. We're a
Don't
little
say
early.
it too soon.
We're a little early.
I got an alert. We're live. We'll see.
All right. Awesome. So let's wait for some peeps to get on here. And looks like we're starting to rack up the views now. Life is good. And good. Oh,
All
you're
right.
not going to want to do that.
I know. I'm going to turn it off. I just wanted to check. We're good.
All right. So you guys are going to get some behind the scenes footage here for the next, 2 minutes, minute and a half. But
It's a good chance to front load calling in.
yeah, if you want to call in, email us your name, phone number, and city, and I'll give you a call. We'll pull you up on live. We'll be able to hear your voice.
So email info, INFO, at tridentshield.net.
There you go.
And
Awesome.
we'll monitor those. And if we can't catch you tonight, we're going to be doing these videos
Every night until further notice.
So we'll call you on a different show if we can't connect with you tonight.
Yeah, but we're gonna try and do our best to get everyone. We'll stay on as long as it takes to get everyone tonight. I know that a lot of people aren't going to want to share their stories until other people do. I've already got some people lined up to call, but awesome, TA, good to see you, brother. So let's see here. What are we looking at time? I always want to jump off a little bit early, but hey,
Close.
all right, so before we start talking about all that stuff, all right, who now is a Tampa Bay fan now that beautiful Tom Brady is moving on to Tampa Bay?
Did you see the hype video that they put out?
No.
Oh, yeah, they put like a TB, Tom Brady, Tampa Bay,
Oh,
like
Jesus.
love affair video that they
Yeah.
were hyping him up. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to give you some heartache.
Well,
Talking about what's your favorite ring? The next one.
yeah. Well, you know what? Tampa Bay is not a team I got a lot of hate for. I mean, they're Tampa Bay. They were laughing stocks of the NFL for a long time. Then they had a couple good years. I hope that he does well. I wish him nothing but the best. But I wish we had listened to Coach Belichick and we had sent him away 2 years ago and kept Jimmy G. Because that's what we should have did. But anyways, all right, how are we looking? All right, it's time. All right, awesome. All right, hey, everyone, thank you for joining us so much to Lock and Shields. This show, which is going to be every night at 9 p.m. Hold on, not 9 a.m. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is basically for everyone out there, who's feeling alone, who's, maybe apprehensive or scared, needs someone to talk to. We're going to put we got our entire firm, like our firm is listening in here. We've got, other experts on the line and other people who are in our community, and we're going to try to help you solve any problems you got, whether it be prepping, whether it be, for this coronavirus stuff, or whether it's emergency preparedness, or you're afraid of violence, or, looting's going on in your city or town, or you just have, you're just stressed out. This social distancing is new to a lot of people. Lauren's like the only one who nothing's changed.
Yeah. I was telling him earlier, I was like, everyone else is like trying to figure out how to do this. It's like, this is just every other day for me.
Lauren would not leave the house for months at a time.
Yeah. Did the write up about most people being lonely? Not everybody, because I don't fall in that category.
My wife's a hermit wannabe, so
It's fine every other day. Good to go.
yeah. So
It's going to come to the point though of that if it's just the fact that I can't go. If I wanted to, it's that I can't.
yeah. Now it's taken from you.
It's taken.
Right.
But that's okay.
So if you want to be called into the show and you want the world to hear your voice, all you got to do is email info@tridentshield.net, which is in the chat, your name, phone number, and city, and then we'll get your story. This is so everyone can feel like they're not alone, so that everyone, you can check in there with everyone and see, hey, hey, I'm with Lauren. I already worked from home doing my own thing. Hey, Jay Schmidt, good for you. We work from home, but I miss going out and having a few beers with the boys, and I miss restaurants. Look at me. I love my restaurants and
Burton's, we miss you.
Burton's, and I miss my Bojangles chicken. Oh man. Anyways, I'm not going to start making everyone hungry now. All right, it's late here on the East Coast for that, but on the the West Coast, you guys can jump into. So the first person we're going to call is Kate, out in LA. So let's give Kate a call. And I turn Kate down until she actually answers here, so you guys don't hear the boom, 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 boom.
So really what we want this time to be kind of moving forward is a place where, with these calls of hearing from people, we're going to continue to provide updates also on anything that happens during the day. But we want to hear from you guys as well, because you guys have been hearing a lot of Jason recently. So
yeah, you guys probably Hey, Kate, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Hold on, let me sit down because I'm hearing.
Turn your computer down.
Yeah, you're gonna want to turn your computer down to 0, and you'll be able to hear everything through this. So, how you doing, Kate? First, tell us your name, where you're from, and how things are going.
Okay, sure. My name's Kate Kearns. I'm in Los Angeles, California, and things are really interesting here because we're used to being really mobile. We move fast here all the time. And to kind of slow things down, we're just finding different ways to be fast other than being outside. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So have you noticed any type of panic yet? Like, how are the store shelves there? Have you seen any destabilization around you? How are the police handling calls, all those things?
The supermarkets went empty. The big panic that happened on the weekend, they're still pretty empty. When they did the lockdown last night and said, okay, nobody leave, or whatever they were trying to say, it just causes a lot of confusion, because when people hear lockdown, they think that they can't walk outside their door. Right. So it took a little bit to say, no, it's okay. You can go outside, you can take a walk, just, be prudent and don't be going crazy out there. I actually, not to do any advertisement, but I have the Ring doorbell, and it alerts anytime anybody who has it in the neighborhood, they can post when things are happening. And we seem to be having quite a bit of an increase of package thieves. And actually, someone was trying to break into someone's house like 1:45, and it was raining, no less. They slipped and hit the door, and then everything went off, and they left. But the comment was kind of funny, because another neighbor creates a chat, and one of the neighbors said, "What idiot would break into a house knowing that everybody has to be home?"
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah. Well, then it goes from a break-in to a home invasion, right? Which is a serious felony with serious jail time. So anybody who's doing that is either really stupid or a hardened
even
felon.
More desperate.
Yeah, or
which
even
is
more desperate.
Not a good place to be.
So one of the things I want to get out there,
hey, Brandy,
to our audience, hey Brandy, good to see you, is that the next phase of this is, unless the government does something it's never done before, which is be efficient. Look at the DMV, look at the VA, look at everything else. People are going to get pretty desperate, because we're standing up never seen before infrastructures, and we're doing programs that have never been done. There's going to be unlimited complications and things that go wrong along the way. Desperate times are going to be coming, and you're going to see a spike in crime. It's probably going to start with break-ins to stores and looting in stores, and then maybe they'll be stupid and they'll be stealing TVs, but I really think it's going to be food and drugs and items like that, and toilet paper, right? Yeah. Which who would have thought, 3 months ago.
Do you think that there's going to be any increase in the crimes for the valuables because those stores are less likely to be occupied right now, that they're going to be more of an easy target?
It's possible. Like, you might get the jewelry store hits, and you might get that. But what I'm afraid of is that the jewelry store owners are going to take their stuff home, because they're not going to do it there. And now you're going to have home invasions going after those things.
For that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So again, I think there's a lot of stuff we're going to see. There's going to be a lot of insider crimes where people who know things about other, and they talk to somebody, and that person does things. So those are really easy to solve usually, because it's like, who knew you had, a bunch of diamonds under the third brick in your house? Well, only your ex-wife knew that,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So, those things are going to be kind of easy to solve. The problem is I want you guys to prepare for this. Prepare for long 911 response times because they're going to be sick, they're going to be hammered, they're going to be locked down, and they're only going to be going to the most dire of calls. So just be prepared to that.
I've heard you talking about this like slower response time and kind of tapped resources there. Is that because you're expecting that law enforcement officers will be sick, so therefore there's fewer of them?
Yes.
Or they're not wanting to respond to risk of exposure? Like, where do you see those gaps coming from?
It's going to be all the above, but first let Kate go. Yeah. So Kate, we know that, this is a stressful time for you and your family. Are there any uplifting words that you want to offer to anybody out there who, might be cold or might be scared and, kind of nervous about what's going on? What's been getting you through?
I have to say, America across the board is pretty funny. There's been a lot of really good
Did we just lose you?
we actually, for the first time, played virtual charades. So
oh, wow.
We got on a Zoom call, and because I have family that's 2.5 hours in one location, another hour and a half, another location, and we just went on a Zoom call, and there's a charade game that you can, a computer game that is free online.
Yeah.
And so we watched each other play charade, and we played charades live. And we had so much fun, and
That's
it felt
great.
like everybody was in the room. Had popcorn and wine. So it was just like we were all in it, all having a party. And I think being creative in that way was really, really good. It's just in keeping the faith, but a lot of humor. I actually got someone sent me a floor plan of a house, it had the bedrooms and bathrooms and everything. And it says planning, or the map for our next vacation, which room they're going to go to.
Yeah.
Next,
Yeah. I've seen that. Where should we travel this weekend?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I mean, Kate, we were
exactly.
talking earlier about, the family connection and doing, there's technology out there is so great for situations like this because
Right.
there's so many ways you can basically be in the room together. The boys I've heard from this guy primarily being like video games, like 20 hours of video games a day. And Kate and I are here like connection, family.
Family.
My connections with my boys in a first-person shooter running around smoking fools.
Even my
Anyways.
dad, who's not technology savvy at all, like he, within the first 24 hours of this kind of shift to the social distancing at home, he's like, can you show me how to have a 3-way call so I can have a beer with my buddies?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
Exactly.
beers and wine and whatever drinks are encouraged during the Lock and Shields podcast.
Sure.
Here, all right, Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Hey, guys, thanks for doing this.
No
Have a
problem.
good night, Kate. Thank you.
All right, so we have a couple
Bye-bye.
comments here. One from Jay Schmidt. Odd things I noted this week on local PD. I have gone out in a vehicle each day and not seen any local PD mobile on patrol. Have seen them parked at local rescue squad only. And then Candace, thank you, Jason and Lauren, for being honest and providing positivity through real information and keeping us posted. You're welcome, Candace. So, yeah, police are not going out and, unfortunately, and doing a lot. They're kind of just staying parked and responding to calls only. I wish that they were out there circling, making sure and preventing break-ins, but I think their numbers are so low, they're just trying to stay, basically centralized and respond accordingly to hot calls. And I wouldn't count on that being any different. So, depending on which environment you live in, you have different things you have to consider. So we live rurally, right? So, we don't have to worry about cross-contamination or anyone breathing or anything like that. We have a well. We have running water on it. We've got all this great stuff, but police response time can be 45 minutes to an hour for us right now.
Yep.
It's 25 minutes on a good day.
Yep.
So, that luckily for us, we're both armed. We're always armed. We get a plan and we're good to go. But, just understand there's a trade-off. Whereas if you're in the city, you're going to have rapid fire, rapid EMS, rapid police. It's just going to be slower than what you're used to, but you're going to have that condensed area. And one of the things, like I said, that I think that's going to happen is people who live day to day, the people who literally maybe have 3 days of food tops in their fridge or any of those things. I'm worried about them, particularly in the inner city, rioting, causing problems, and victimizing their neighbors. And I think we'll start seeing that. That's why you're having these kind of, now you've got Illinois, you've got New York, and now you've got California doing it. And I expect almost everyone to get there.
Which are all areas with cities that are not known for
great
peace.
Yeah, peace and
Peace
quiet.
and quiet.
Well, New York used to be, and then
yeah.
the Blasio.
So right now, with kind of the way that things are, or maybe actually, so now in those cities, are the police being asked to enforce anything? With these shelter at place, it's like.
So I heard
is it a law?
Cuomo
Is it not
mention
a law?
it. Yeah.
No one's arrestable right now if they're not.
Yeah, I thought they were doing citations to businesses that were staying open.
I thought of businesses, citations and fines. But
and then I'm not sure beyond that. Eventually, these suggestions are not going to be heeded, and they'll have to activate the National Guard.
So should law enforcement be going around when they see people, just talking to them and kind of encouraging them firmly to go back home? Is that kind of the extent to what they could be doing right now?
I mean, if someone's out and about, other than getting some fresh air, which that would have been strange before, walking at 3 a.m. Now I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. That's the time when you're not going to get exposed to anyone else. Yeah. Right? The streets have been clear for a while. You can go for a nice walk.
Yeah.
So Candace is saying Zoom is a great way to keep work, meetings from home, and it's free service and very lengthy, easy to use for large number. Yeah, it's great. We have the paid version of it. That's how we run all of our meetings in-house. Well, we use that, Teams, and a few other things. It's absolutely awesome. So we got a question here from Steven. Hey, Jason and Lauren, do you have suggestions on how to handle mail deliveries to our homes since we don't know how long the virus may? Yeah, so I can tell you what I do. So
are we going to make a video of this one as well?
We're going to make a video of that, and hopefully we'll be able to get to do the videos tomorrow. So basically any boxes or mail that gets delivered to us, we open them outside. So we put on gloves, right? And it could be your rubber gloves, your boxer gloves, like your nitrile gloves, could be cleaning gloves. It could be just a thick pair of work gloves. Honestly, they're dirty, right? Mm-hmm. Once those gloves touch the mail, they're dirty. So then you take them, you open up, you take what you want, right, out of it, and then you take, Clorox wipes, Lysols, whatever, and you wipe everything down that you're going to keep and bring in. Mm-hmm. So when packages get delivered, they get opened outside.
Yep.
And then we disinfect it, bring it in, and then we leave it out there for a few days on, the porch, and then it goes from there into the trash. When I've got another pair of dirty set of gloves on. And that's basically how we're doing everything. Just like when we shop, our shop is, can I just call now? TA, you want to call in? You got my number from earlier on the Facebook? You sure you can call in if you want.
Yeah, so Steve, we'll do a video of that just to show that process. But the most important thing, probably the most likely area where the virus is still living, just given kind of shipping time, would be the outer box of when it's being handled by the delivery person. So that's the box that you're going to want to be extra careful handling and leaving that outside on your porch for several days before you move it to the trash, or if you're using gloves, you can move it to the trash. The inside stuff's probably been packed hopefully longer than how long the virus can live, but better safe than sorry. You're going to want to wipe that stuff down too. So we've got a call.
All right, I'm calling TA.
480. Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
TA, it didn't work. If that's your number, hold on. I got that number there. Did he give me a phone number on here? Give it another shot.
I'm not sure. Is that a phone number?
48.
Oh, Tia, I'm not giving it out on the air, so you got to email me your number and I'll call you. So email us at info@tridedandshield.net, just because I was getting hella spam when I put my phone number out there. So like hackers and everything else got my number, and my phone's been blowing up with Chinese sound and stuff and all kinds of garbage. So I kind of pulled my number back. We'll call you. Obviously, you'll have my number then. That's fine. I just didn't want to put it out there on the internet for anybody to worms to crawl and grab it, if that makes any sense.
This guy has enough stuff going on his phone as it is.
My
Doesn't
phone
need all
is
the
blowing
spam.
up all darn day.
So, Steve, does that make sense as far as the packages? And are there any other questions kind of related to that? So we're going to be doing the video on that. We're going to be doing the video on how to get dressed and then undress when you're going out in public, going to your grocery store. So also, if there's any other kind of procedures right now as far as staying clean about this or anything else around the house that you guys want a video about or another explanation on, let us know that because we can create that content and get that out for you guys as well.
All right. So we'll wait for an email from TA. Until then, let's give JG a call. JG is Josh Garay. He was on the Ebola task force. He's on our team. He's a great guy, and I'm going to give him a call and bring him in. So go ahead, entertain, Lauren.
Entertain?
Keep going.
I'm out.
Keep flowing. You're out already? Holy smokes.
I'm not a small talker, guys.
All right. Thank God. Thank God I'm here to carry the conversation. Josh, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Josh.
So,
Thank
Josh,
goodness you answered, so I didn't
go
have to
ahead
small
and
talk
tell
you.
everyone your name, where you're at, and your background, and why we should care who you are.
So, my name is Josh Garay. I currently live in Dallas, Texas, and one of the consultants for Trident Shield. My background is I worked for 15 years for the intelligence community, and in that time, I worked on the 2009 response to H1N1, and also I was part of the White House Ebola task force in 2014 and developed some of the plans of how the federal government would respond to an infectious disease if it occurred, much like the one that we're in right now.
And so, Josh, based on that, you're under the understanding or knowledge that what you put in place back then is likely what they worked off of for this response initially with the travel restrictions?
Correct. And the initial travel restrictions that were in place, that goes along with a lot of the recommendations that were initially placed when there was detection of a potential pandemic or a possible pandemic that could have arisen. Or for any infectious disease that is spread or you don't know enough information about, they'll start, much like we had in 2014, the restrictions were put in place to those countries that were affected with Ebola in order to prevent the spread out to other countries. And we did see when those restrictions were not in place here in 2014, we did see some cases of Ebola in the United States, not that it was community spread or anything like that, but specifically just that some people had traveled from those countries over to the United States.
So I'm guessing that when you create pandemic plans like that, when we help clients, we do tabletop sessions and we escalate scenarios kind of on realistic events that might happen with something. I'm guessing that you did something similar when creating the pandemic plan. Did you guys talk about scenarios that are similar to what's going on now with the level of community spread, and how do you handle kind of state to state travel and community outbreak and things like that?
Yeah, so there are many things that the federal government does in order to prepare for an emergency, and something specifically about this scale. When we initially in 2014, when this occurred, rather than doing any tabletop exercises or anything like that, they wanted to, the people that we were dealing with in the administration at that time wanted to engage directly with Ebola and focus on that. But as that started dying down, there were some that wanted to focus specifically on Ebola, but a segment of the team that I was on, we wanted to focus more on infectious diseases as a overall, meaning, hey, create an infectious disease plan, and then subsections of that plan would include Ebola. You could have TB or smallpox or anything else that would go under that as subsections, because much like we're finding now with the coronavirus, is that there are nuances which are different than just your standard influenza.
Yeah, and just so people can understand, Would you, I mean, I know the answer to this. Would you say that Ebola is more or less contagious than coronavirus?
So what I would say is that it is the Ebola virus is far deadlier than the coronavirus, but coronavirus is far more easily spread. The big thing with coronavirus is normally when you have, let's say with Ebola, the period between initially making contact with or being infected to showing signs is pretty short.
Yeah, your contagious window compared to this one, you're just like an invisible gray man spreading it. Like, I mean, it's perfectly designed, whether by Mother Nature or someone else, to spread through the masses because you can have people who don't even look it. Whereas Ebola, you get sick as hell really quick.
Mm-hmm. and
no
also,
one wants to be around you.
And then correct. And then the other big difference between even between the standard influenza or the common flu or some of these other infectious diseases that are out there is that in the coronavirus, what we're witnessing is that you can have the young that are infected and all they have are sniffles, but they're passing that along to everybody that's older. Mm-hmm. So because kids have the tendency of wiping their noses and touching pretty much anything from toys to doorknobs to anything, and they don't have that regular practice of washing their hands frequently, you constantly have to tell them that. Having two boys, I know exactly how that is, and I know you guys know how it is also. But because that's the case, you don't really notice that they're sick, but they've just passed it along to their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents in some cases.
Yeah, it's really, that's why the numbers here are so underreported. You know what I'm saying? And I just really think that we're all in for a longer battle than what the optimists are putting out, because I don't think the administration or anybody really wants to go out and say, hey, this is going to suck for 6 months to a year.
So my concern, we're doing this, increasingly extreme measures of the social distancing, in some places more of a lockdown scenario, likely to spread around the country with that. How long is that going to go on for? I mean, it seems to me that if you do that and then pull the plug on that effort too soon, because that's a lot to ask people to do for weeks and weeks and months, and the virus is still out there in some capacity, even if we've gotten somewhat of a handle on it with this effort, as soon as people start moving around again, the virus is going to have more people to come back and
absolutely.
And
so that's why
like, now that we're in this effort, do we have to do this all the way until like no cases?
I think what they're going to do is they're going to reevaluate it in 2 weeks, and then they're going to step it up, and then reevaluate it in 2 weeks and step it up. So, for example, we know here in Charlottesville, people who are sick, who are out walking around totally irresponsibly because their doctor, without seeing them, knowing they had a fever, knowing they're 40 years old, knowing they have respiratory symptoms, without seeing them, diagnosed them with bronchitis, and then walked around town for 2 weeks, and now is, getting worse and all that. It's so darn confusing, and no one's speaking truth, or very few people are speaking accurately out there. And people want to believe or don't want to believe, the conspiracy theorists, the other people, and they just downplay it. And it's just, it just adds to so much damn confusion.
Yeah.
And
so, Josh, I'm curious, so based on your understanding of pandemics and things like that in your work, is there anything that surprises you either about how coronavirus itself has escalated and spread and kind of how it's behaving, and also how it's being handled by the government and as our country, whether the response, whether you think anything should be done differently, or whether you think it's being handled well, as far as how we're kind of locking states down bit by bit, just what your thoughts are on that with your history.
So primarily what I would say is that the big difference that I think is in regards to a lot of other infectious diseases that I mentioned it previously is the long incubation period and the ability of spreading it to the population when you're not even showing any symptoms at all. That's one. The other one is having the young that can be infected. And that's one of the things that dispel the rumor that they can't be infected is that they can be infected, except that they're not showing in large quantities of numbers. They're not showing signs of being sick. So they may not get the fever. Again, it may be a sniffle, but they're still passing it along. So that's an interesting note. The other thing, and specifically talking about quarantines and isolation, lockdown, or however you would like to term it, in countries like China, in countries like North Korea, in countries that have stronger totalitarian governments, isolation is a lot easier. As an enforcement of isolation, when President Xi has stated that it is a national threat to go out into the public, they're enforcing that by the gun. I mean, it's not just arresting in some cases. It may be at the end of a gun.
I have a quote that anyone who breaks quarantine will be nailed to the pillar of eternity, or something harsh. Like, I mean, it was really, really hardcore. And
Correct.
like Josh is saying, they would shoot people that if they broke the quarantine. I mean, and it's...
What I was going to mention is that then we're seeing the big difference between, as an example, you have that response, and then you have juxtaposed to the responses that we're seeing in Western Europe and even here in the United States, where it's a slow roll of trying to isolate, but still keeping your openness and access to services, and again, it's not even necessary services, just services in general. In Italy, that's why now we've seen that the rate has definitely, I mean, Italy has other issues, but including their aged population, but in general, their inability of just being able to lock down an area the way that you can in totalitarian government makes you more susceptible to spread.
Right.
And then in the United States, in particular, I mean, I just have an airplane that's flying overhead right now. It's just demonstrating that states can, California might want to lock down, but that doesn't mean that they're locking down their border with Oregon, who
That's
still
what I was talking to Jason about earlier.
Walk around.
Travel in and out of that state. Yeah, that's not really addressed.
Yeah, that'll be when the National Guard gets called out, if they get called out. So,
Josh, I have one more question.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to kind of bring it kind of closer to home with a personal family question. You have two boys. Remind me of their ages.
7 and 5.
So younger kids. How have you explained this to them? I know a lot of parents are struggling on how do you talk to younger children about what's going on without freaking them out, but getting them to understand kind of the level of seriousness, like why can't you go out and play with your friends?
Yeah. So well, I would say that my kids have a particular, because they are our kids. My wife is a nurse practitioner, and I've been doing this kind of work for years. So whether it's by osmosis or whatever, it's been in there even back when they were little in 2014. It was around as in the conversations in the household where it was just always around. Also, I've always been generally prepared. Jason and I have spoken about this in the past, that for years now, we've gone through the whole process of preparing for multiple, scenario agnostic.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Florida, so I've dealt with hurricanes for most of my life. And my wife was from California, so earthquakes were that aspect of her emergency experience. So us being prepared was just a natural thing that came from when we were kids, and and we just passed it along to our children. For the kids in particular, one of the ways of explaining this that we found that was easy to explain it is they've all experienced the common cold, and being able to explain that there are people out there that may get far more sick than them if they catch it, and understanding that we can't just go to your friend's house and have the activities that you used to, and why. Again, it's talking to them, maybe not necessarily as an adult, but explaining to them the severity, but also letting them know that their household is prepared, and that they don't have to concern themselves too much about that, because again, your parents are here. That is something for me to worry about and my wife to worry about, not so much for them to worry about, but be mindful that they should wash their hands, be clean, and do those natural sanitary protocols that they should keep in place. With my 5-year-old, it's a little more difficult because, again, it's just a level of understanding.
Right.
But again, just keep it to what they can handle. Just letting you know and the viewers that a lot of times, specifically for preparedness, ready.gov does have a section for kids specifically. And you can go there and just they have comic books and different things like that just talk about general preparedness, but at least it gets the kids in that mindset. And if they just view it as almost like when you prepare for a camping trip, or how you get a bag if you're going to do an extended camping trip that has to have certain items and things like that. So if you're building a go bag, those kinds of things, make it fun. I mean, right now everybody's kept in their homes. Why not sit down with your kids and hey, what would a go bag look like for you? You know, pick a nice backpack and start putting some items in there. But again, we're all bottled up right now, so it's a good time to spend time with your kids. And you know, if we have to explain these things, make it in a fun way that they can understand.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks,
and Josh, if you had anything uplifting that you'd want to share for anybody who's in a dark place right now, what would you say?
I would say is that don't let watch your news maybe 30 minutes to find out what's going on in your local community. Stay informed. That's the biggest thing that I always tell anyone that I speak to is staying informed is key. Multiple avenues by staying informed, but stay informed because that's what's going to help you out a lot. The keeping your head together in the game, keeping yourself mentally fit is always a good idea. But we've been through this before, whether it's 1918 or other times in our past. We've been through crises before, and we've come out fine. This will be no different. It's just in the way that we handle it that again, it's just a lot of it is much like with the scarcity that's going on. It's an artificial scarcity. The toilet paper is still getting made. Bottles of water are still getting made. The factories haven't shut down or anything like that. So like I said, if we just keep our mental health in check and stay informed, then we'll turn out all right.
You mean it's not reasonable to shoot somebody in the store because they took the last roll of toilet paper?
Nope. Not yet, anyways.
You can always use what was it in? I think it was in Demolition Man. They used 3 shells. I think it was in that movie that they talked about because apparently they went through a pandemic. That's why nobody, if you watch that movie, nobody shakes hands. They give those high fives that you don't make contact with. So yeah, I mean, at worst case scenario, don't go through that level of violence. Just go outside and grab some leaves and make sure it's not poison ivy.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
Good
Really
advice,
appreciate it.
Thanks,
and
Josh.
all you do.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
So I saw kind of thinking about how to talk to your kids about it. One suggestion was, or someone had they explained it to their kiddo, I'm not sure the age of the kid, was to say, picture the community as being a huge swimming pool and everyone's out swimming and having fun. And then you find out that there's people in the pool who are having trouble swimming, but there's so many people out there that the lifeguards are having a hard time figuring out who those people are. So everyone who is fine, who can swim, they need to get out of the pool so the lifeguards can see who's left to save. And so that's the purpose of removing yourself from the community so that the people who are more at risk are safe.
Wow, that's kind of interesting way of saying it.
It worked for a little kid anyways.
So there's a couple things on here. Kate said, hey, Jason, can you explain the use of gloves? I.e., I spoke with someone who was wearing them at the store and felt that somehow it protected them more than they did. Yeah, this is spreading a few different ways, okay? It's spreading by touch, meaning someone sneezes or coughs and you touch it and then you touch your face, or you breathe that in from, by touch, scratching your nose and inhaling it off of your finger. But now it's also believed to be airborne and you can breathe it. And that means that if someone expels air you can inhale it. And then the other way you can inhale it and catch this is fecal. So what they're finding is that when you go take a number 2 in the bathroom, that the fumes that are in there actually can spread this. So, and they're finding heavy concentrations in the air in the bathroom more than anywhere else. So that's, I saw some natural selection playing out. There's the coronavirus challenge where people are licking toilet seats and doorknobs.
Are you kidding?
And of course they're all millennials, and you just can't be.
The problem is, I heard you say this natural selection thing before. The problem is that the ones making stupid choices like that, they're the ones that likely will not be naturally selected. It's going to be their stupidity that kills someone else who might have been making the right choice.
Yeah, well, that's why because you don't trust you can't trust anyone out there.
Right.
You just have to stay away from them. So to go back to what I was talking about, Kate, the gloves protect you from doing anything from touch as long as you don't touch it and then touch your face, right?
It's still like the surface of your hand, so you can't touch anywhere else.
The gloves aren't really necessarily doing anything except for save you from washing your hands 600 times. Because while you're wearing the gloves, as long as you don't touch anything else, you're good. Take the gloves off and wash your hands anyways, but that way you're not having to do it 600 times.
Yeah, but if it's giving you a false sense of security because you don't understand how exactly things transfer, then
there's a lot of people who don't want to believe this because, let's face it, this is freaking inconvenient for everyone. And so people are like, I don't know anybody with it yet, blah, 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 so-and-so. It's not real. I saw someone on Facebook in one of the groups I'm in. I don't know anyone who has this yet. How do none of us have it yet? Well, it's like, because it's just starting here, guys. And most of you might have had it.
People have had it and didn't know it. Yeah. Before you get into questions, I see TA's comment based on my little pool. Someone pooped in the pool. That's why to get out.
I'm like, where's she going with this pool thing? She'll be like, someone peed in the pool and we all have to get out of the pool.
No, it's so that you can see who's drowning.
Right.
I didn't come up with this, guys. I'm just sharing it. If it sounds good to you, try it with your kids.
So all right, is there any word on the testing anybody? So there's 3 ways to test for this now. And the ones that we've been using the most is the least effective. It's only really effective during the early stages of this. So the first place most people become contagious is in their oral cavity. So they take a swab and they test you, and if you test positive, you're great. All right. The next place is rectally or anally, where they go in and swab your booty hole, in and around your booty hole. I don't know if they go in. I haven't had the test, but
just we don't need to get graphic. Just it's a rectal swab. We'll
just say it. So anyways, what's happening is people who are no longer testing positive up top, aka oral, and they're ruled not sick anymore, they found when they started doing swabs down below rectally that they were still positive.
I am not sure. I'd have to go back and review, and if they said that, what amount of time there is in the time when you are negative orally, positive anally.
I thought you were going to say anally. I thought you were going to say rectally.
Rectally.
It was very funny. We were in the middle of a webinar with a bunch of companies, and I said you can test orally, anally, or blood. And someone said, "What was the second one again?" And I said anally. And of course,
maybe that's why they're only talking about the oral swabs on the news.
So, anyways, the third and most effective way is blood. And we're going to have to get more blood kits because that's where it's staying the longest.
Yeah, someone asked the mosquito question on the news this morning, Dr. Sapphire, who's on Fox a lot these days, and she was saying that the blood tests are not common, or they're not doing blood tests. But she was also saying that her opinion was that she didn't think that there was no evidence that this could be transmitted by blood, as in like a mosquito biting you and then biting
or like
else,
HIV,
because she's like, there's no precedent that a respiratory illness like what this coronavirus is can be caught by a blood transmission versus a drop.
And they're also not, whether it's true or not, they're not seeing a ton of cases in hot climates where they have a lot of mosquitoes. So, like they were talking about the Philippines and places like that.
So it shows up in your blood, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it can be transmitted by blood.
All right, so I want to get caught up on some stuff here. We're falling behind on some questions and some comments. So, Carolyn Lou, good friends of ours, the biggest comfort for us is our faith in Jesus and knowing we prepare not only our minds but our home for times like these. Being a prepper, this is, why we do it, right? I mean, I always thought I'd have more time, and it's here, and I'm like, darn, I don't have X, Y, and Z, but I got more than most, so I have to be happy. And then Candace, one idea for kids, there. I had my Bostonian came out there. We put pizza, idea. My idea, one idea for kids is to explain germs and washing your hands. Yep. And then take a plate of water with a pepper in it.
With pepper, black pepper.
Black pepper in it. Dip your finger in a little dish of soap, and then dip that finger in the pepper water, i.e. the pepper is the germs, and the soap helps get the germs away.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. They did a video of this. That you stick your finger in the pepper normally, and all the pepper clings to your finger, and then you put the soap on your finger, and the pepper like scatters them out around the bowl. So it's
cool.
To show
Very
the
cool.
power of washing your hands and using soap.
Sweet. Kind of like the same thing that happens with oil and water and that type of thing. Cool.
Little
Or
science,
soap.
little science stuff to do with your kids.
Awesome. So Scott says they are famous social media influencers. I'm not tracking that, but I don't know if he's making fun of us because...
No, I think that comment came when we were talking about some of like the millennials and the people not taking it seriously, but you might need to confirm.
And then Kate Kearns, just heard today that Los Angeles had 101 new cases within the last 48 hours, bringing the county total to 292. Median age of victims is 49 years old, 138 of the cases between 18 and 65. Yeah, you've got, probably 10,000 in LA at least right now, and they just don't have the kits yet.
Well, the governor was what, like that half of the state might get this?
Yep.
That's
their conservative numbers, half of all of us of the country is going to get it. Brandy Hip, treat almost everything like hazmat. Absolutely. And then Brandy asks if there could be a major relapse. Of course. That's always the thing. But the great thing is because they're attacking this from different directions and avenues, there's already a vaccine under works.
Yeah.
They're looking at chloroquine and other drugs and antivirals.
Basically, we're biding time right now. That even if
we're
it
buying
comes back,
time and we're delaying it to where it's not even going to matter in the end. But it's just how heavy of a toll is this going to take on all of us. I must say I'm impressed. Here's a tip for everyone out there. Do this tomorrow. Do not delay. Call your mortgage company and tell them you want a 3-month extension. They'll do it on a phone call. I just did mine. I don't have to make a mortgage payment till July. One phone call saved me $7,500. Mm-hmm. Right? Do that for your guys out there, okay? All right. Kate Kearns, now is the only time someone wishes their house would get TP'd. That's so true, Kate. Can this be transmitted by open wound? I do not know that yet, Jason. And then Brandy,
well, I think
Brandy's calling the anal swab a Navy test. I think that's a little joke there.
So for Jason's question,
TA, the rectal test is probably not done at the drive-through. Maybe. I mean, maybe they're just sitting there and you pull up.
Stick your booty out the window.
Yeah, put your butt in the window. Boop, boop. Who knows? I don't want that job.
But to Jason's question, I remember a comment from one of the medical professionals on the news about the balance of washing your hands so much and kind of using all of the hand sanitizer is that it can dry out and crack your hands, which creates openings in your skin that could then be vulnerable. So that leads me to believe that
it can be through an open wound. I mean, that's crazy. That'd be the same thing about blood to blood. Yeah, that would be the bloodborne.
That's true.
Thing. So here's the short answer.
We don't know.
Nobody freaking knows. The doctors don't even know yet. Until they have someone like take a needle and stab somebody with it, like happened with HIV, or they do extensive tests. Right now, they're doing big picture stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And, I'm sure once mosquitoes start coming, if cases start flaring up in Florida like crazy, then we might have some issues, So right now they're picking on really big. So Kate said, do you have to sanitize the gloves you wear? You don't have to sanitize them as long as you're not touching anything that you don't want to make dirty. But the rubber gloves we have, I wear multiple layers of them. So I have my dirty outer layer, my clean inner layer. So when I'm taking off all my dirty clothes because I went grocery shopping, I take off all my clothes with my dirty gloves, and then my dirty gloves come off, and I have my clean gloves underneath. Todd Proctor, hey Todd, is it real to think the government will call for a national shutdown? Your opinion, if they will, should they? So I think they should, but they won't. It'd just be too politically unpopular. And not everyone is the same. Idaho is not the same as New York, is the same as Mississippi, is the same
West Virginia,
as
which took a really
West
long time to
Virginia,
even have any cases.
You know, so I think they're going to kind of try to do this regionally. But I do think the governors are going to call it as it starts to get out of control. So it's just a matter of time till Virginia. Virginia has D.C., Virginia has Richmond, Virginia has Virginia Beach. Virginia is going to do the same thing. Maybe in like isolated empty states they won't.
Do you think so? If they're allowed to do this state by state, that your state's locked down like California is now, and do you think federally they should say you can't travel outside of your state, even if your state itself is not in a lockdown, like within your community?
Of course they should do that.
But is that something that, like, at a federal level would make sense? And then even if your state's not locked down, you can't go in and out of other areas that might be in a lockdown?
Yeah. So once the National Guard's called out, free flowing of traffic is gone. Mm. Right. The main thing I got to tell everyone out there is, I don't know what I would say, Che, as a renter, and then I'll get back to answering Todd's question. As a renter, call your landlord and say, hey, listen, I need some relief on this. I know you're hurting. I'm hurting. I'm not getting paid anymore. What do they think? They're going to rent it to somebody else?
New York said that you can't evict somebody for 90 days.
Yeah, New York put a state saying that for 90 days you can't evict anyone. So, again, it has this weird trickle-down effect, because what if that person's only income is rental properties? You know, it just gets out of control. So, but it is possible, Che. And then Todd, once the National Guard gets called out, like, free-flowing traffic is going to be stopped. The key is to get now where you want to be comfortable. And then here is some Prepper 101 for a lot of people out there. You may not be able to stay where you want to be. You know, if you live close to the city and the city's rioting and they're going home to home, you might have to pick a second destination. Have your car ready to go within an hour, right? Meaning you have the stuff that you absolutely need, your most valuables on standby, ready to load up your car. Full tank of gas, people. Full tank of gas. And then get in your car and be able to go. And figure out before that happens where you're going to go, right? So we would probably head to Maine. Mm-hmm. You know,
or maybe West Virginia.
And you know,
a good neighbor.
Yeah, you know, but that's kind of what we're looking at. You're welcome, Che. And this is going to take place on 9 a.m. on Facebook, Che, just because I think that we can get more people here during this time and do more good. All right. So you guys got to pick two places you're going to go. The one, get your house ready where you're at now, and then your second place you want to go. You know, other people.
Should that be, so if you are having to move to a second location because things have gotten to that point, would it also make sense to have acquired a community, your band of brothers at that point, that you have several families that are going to that same place, so then you have a strong group of people? Or should you continue to be independent then?
So it just really depends on how far the destabilization chain we've gone. Right now, you can't put too many people together because septic systems are going to get overwhelmed, all these other things. So really, it's keeping your group small, efficient, and going where people who have also prepped for this, mm-hmm. right? You don't want to be like, so if you're a family of 3 who's prepared for this and you've got 90 days of food, and then you let all your sisters, brothers, and cousins come and they haven't done anything, well, now you're down to a couple weeks, mm-hmm. right? And shame on them for not. Right. So, and Josh has a really good point that the key point of staying informed is staying informed. Absolutely. So I would ratchet up what Josh would say. I'd say watch a minimum of an hour of news, find some resources, bounce around, make sure some of it's local.
I would also suggest doing it at several times throughout the day.
Yeah.
Because it's changing so frequently.
Evolving.
Check in the morning, midday, and then evening if you're going to just have a few times.
Absolutely. So I see we have 2 likes right now on this, right? So if you guys want to support us, our revenue is pretty much dried up. We're just like everyone else. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel to a certain amount, to 1,000 subscribers, and we need 4,000 viewing hours. And if you want to help us, liking and subscribing to this channel helps us get there. And then once we hit that, we get monetized. But the main thing is if you guys like, comment like you're doing in the chat, and like us, it tells the YouTube algorithm we don't suck, and it bumps up our channel. Yeah, Todd, I totally agree with you. You know that. Thank you. This is so politicized, but that's an entirely different show. It really is. You know, everyone's using this as a chance to take a pot shot at, the administration. You know, I watch reporters give them, someone, Aaron from Ting really summarized. He's like, I don't watch these newscasts anymore. It's like watching a police video of here's the definition of entrapment, trying to watch these reporters with baited questions go after Trump and get him to say stuff. It's really terrible. The main thing is we have to pull, we're not local, Brandy, we're national, but I really appreciate that. So, Joe, I keep hearing different symptoms. Some say like a regular cold, others say throat and fever. It's not, it varies, right? It varies. But for 48% of people, the first symptoms are actually diarrhea. That came out.
Which they had been saying wasn't. They had been saying it was not like a cold and it was not GI distress.
Typically, the fever is the primary one. That's why they're checking fever. So fever is the primary indicator, and you should be doing telemedicine when you first acquire your fever. They'll walk you through, they'll answer questions. Telemedicine's when you call your doctor, ER, they'll ask you questions, they'll screen you and do that. Guys.
You're circling there. Does that mean that we're losing our...
We might be, I'm not sure.
Let us know, guys, if the feed's cutting out or not. We're potentially seeing that we're...
Over here is
lagging.
good,
Okay.
so I'm not sure, and it's still saying excellent connection, so...
Hopefully not.
I'm not sure what that is, so...
Don't touch it. We'll just see.
So again, Brandy, the best and local honest, or if you could somebody comment and help us out here, Kate. So did California, no eviction. There should be like 14 likes now. I should hope there was 14 likes. I'm only seeing 4. So it looked like we had a little stutter there. Our internet connection, CenturyLink, which sucks. Don't ever trust them. I'll be getting a satellite with 100 gig down pretty soon here. All right, still good. Thanks, Joe. So the main thing is make sure you look at the fever is a big one, but now looking at diarrhea because that might be the first thing. Local urgent care centers have moved to telemedicine, absolutely, and that's Josh saying that because his wife does that for a living. And I think that there's going to be some good from this, guys. I think that we're going to do more telemedicine. No more are you going to have to hop in your car and go to the ER for something stupid and blow your night. Now you should be able to just hop on, call your nurse practitioner who's sitting at home sipping coffee and be able to make a decision. If it's serious, meet them at the ER. What a great thing, right? I mean, I really, really think this is all going to end up in a good place. Thanks, guys, for telling us we're loud and clear. So what other questions you got? There is no stupid question.
So there's someone in The Guardian, McNeely earlier, he put in an article that came out about the second dog had tested positive or something. And
oh, really?
I think Hong Kong. I would have to go back and look. So not here. And so he was just asking if we'd heard anything. And I looked into it a little bit, and it sounds like they've done tests on a lot of dogs, and they have all come back negative at this one group that's been tested. And so for us to hear that only 2, so I know the concern, and it sounds like a lot of dogs are being dumped at shelters and stuff because people are worried that they're going to get it from their dogs. That does not seem right now to be that there's not much evidence as far as that goes. However, in the same article, they are recommending that, especially if you think you're sick, to limit your contact with your dog, stop kissing them, and have someone else take care of them. So there's enough confusion or uncertainty that they think that they are advising that you don't contact your dog if you think you're sick, so that is that potential of transmission there.
Wow, if you want to see China get nuked, right? You want to see China, like Americans will stand, and tell Americans they have to kill their dogs. I mean, that's literally the only way PETA It's gonna be, but I mean, we'll tolerate people dying because.
Well,
we're
there was a
messed up in
mention.
the head,
There was a
but it's
mention
like,
of that you should be putting your dogs in quarantine or something. But one thing. So like Odin right now, he's a hot mess of a dog, and he's been going to the vet a lot. And so I'm not so concerned about our dogs getting the virus. Whatever, if they do, they do. But I'm not concerned about that. My concern is that Odin going to the vet, he's then being handled by multiple people that I haven't had control of.
well, let's stop taking Odin to the vet.
They are now handling his leash. They're touching him. So if they had it on them, that would now be on his surface or on his leash collar that I would then be touching and bringing back to the
And let's
house.
face it, vets are filthy places. I mean, they're clean.
Well, they're
aesthetically.
handling so many
They're
people.
handling so, but they don't treat it like a hospital.
Right.
They don't scrub everything
that's exactly
down
my
and all
concern.
that.
So yes, we're not taking Odin anymore.
Yeah.
But that's for people to consider. I think they should be more concerned about who's touching the dog that could then carry the virus into the
Let
house
me
versus the
explain
dog
why
getting infected.
having a party, another vector for this to go through is you'll trade it back and forth. That's the problem, right? If all people get cured of this, but it hasn't been cured from the animal population, anywhere an animal picks this up can spread it to people, and we'll have cells going everywhere because animals can't choose to go. Right? So that's why they'll literally be telling people to put down animals. That's how crazy this could be. So, I mean, if you see some... Ooh, I almost went on a rant. Hold on. All right. If you see someone out there who's being selfish and you see, Baker Butler School in Albemarle County, you suck. You had a bunch of people out there standing in line, no social distancing. You just spread this. I guarantee it.
So the parents were asked to come get their children's computers at the school, and they had everyone standing outside waiting to get in to get their. I think it sounds like I'd have to go back. I think they were letting parents in very small numbers, so they were kind of trying to control it inside the school, but everyone was standing in groups outside the school. There was kids there in this picture, so that entire exposure was happening in the parking lot.
Yeah, I can't show that. Someone took pictures and sent it to us asking what to do, and you get a bunch of clueless idiots with their kids and everyone else standing.
And they also said that they were the
lines.
only one wearing a mask.
Yeah.
There.
So, I mean, you can there's only so much you can do. Everyone who listens to this show is good. So again, I see 6 likes of this broadcast. If you don't know how to like, it's right below the frame. There's a little thumb up. If you click on it, because I know there's some people in here watching on their TVs, you can like this. That really does help us do it. If you click it more than once, it will remove your like. So if it's blue, that means you liked it. If it's not blue, it's white, you didn't like it or you unclicked it. So again, the best way you can help us for us to do this is to like, share, and subscribe. We need to hit that 1,000 subscribers, guys.
And you can go through all of our other videos and like those too.
Right. So what you don't want to do is start watching and walk away.
Oh, wait, we just went down one.
Somebody
Stop
unliked.
clicking.
There you go. You're back. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys. What else we got? The dogs thing is pretty gnarly.
I'll try to dig in more and see if there's any other studies out there that have not been.
As Americans, we're so vulnerable to that because we're so attached to our dogs. Mm-hmm. Screw cats. If it went to jump on cats, cats we can do without. Never trust a dude with a cat. Our school had them drive through drop-off route, and teachers had masks and gloves.
Well,
you
sounds
guys
like
are
you
squared
guys are
away.
together.
You're not stupid Charlottesville where people just disbelieve things and just hate the president. Sorry.
Yeah. Gotta slip it in there.
Yeah, just slip it in there. Sorry. I didn't mean to go there, but I did. Todd can empathize with me. He deals with it all the time.
So I'm wondering, I've started doing this, and I've told you, because I didn't really know my typical temperature. And so I've been taking my
comes
temperature.
to me, I'm dead. I get a 94 temperature. I'm like,
Not 94.
You do not have a 94.4 temperature.
I did not say 94. I said 4. And I was like, I have the opposite of a
You
temperature.
live in a constant state of hypothermia.
I am always cold, so it kind of made sense. And he even said it kind of made sense. But then the battery was dying. But but since then, I've been taking it with another one. But aside from the fact that I run low, but is that something that you should be familiar with? And like, should you take your temperature once a day so that if your fever starts to go up, you should be
There is no harm with more knowledge. Getting your baseline temp, so you should know. But the main thing is they're going to tell you to stay at home in most cases until you start developing serious respiratory problems. So if you're sitting like, hey, I'm starting to feel this, they're going to be like, okay, let us know. And they're just going to monitor you. They may have you drive in and do a little swab in the parking lot.
But you could start taking your own at-home medicines and stuff if you know.
Sure, at least you have a baseline. Mm-hmm. Don't do it after you drink water or coffee or tea because you're going to spike it. Mm-hmm. All right? Do it with a mouth that you haven't had anything to drink for like 15 minutes or so. All right? Unless you want to do a rectal thermometer, and good luck to you. And you're going to have to figure out yourself on how to do that one.
Yeah, we're not teaching you that one.
We're not teaching that. We'll do a lot of videos, but we're not doing one on that, all right?
Dip it in Vaseline, right?
Yeah.
That's where we'll stop.
Is that from all your appointments at the vet?
The vet, and then I've had to do it on baby B. Poor girl.
Poor baby B. Poor baby B. She's got a very diligent mother, taking her temperature, Vaseline.
I haven't been taking her temperature like this.
Just remember, if you're using that thermometer there, don't.
Oh, there's a butt thermometer, and then there's the mouth thermometer.
Separate them out, all right? Red and blue, whatever it is. Do not mix the two. Holy smokes, we went there. All right, guys. What else you got? And for future purposes, if you got a question, give us, type question and then hit enter and then start typing your question. So we'll hold off. And we know that there's a question coming because sometimes people write a novel, and we'll hang on for you, man. But we just really wanted to answer your questions.
So, we did a few calls
9
in the beginning.
likes. Go on.
You guys are getting
People
it.
are finding the like button. Boop, boop, boop.
You have that info at tridentshield.net. So if you want to call in to any of these shows, shoot us your number. And it doesn't even have to be during the show that you email us. You can email us, during the day and say, hey, call me tonight or call me tomorrow. Just so that we have that, because it'll be great for us to get a little list going of who wants to.
Yeah, we just want to share everyone's stories and really, hear how everyone's doing, right? Because you might be encountering a problem that we're going to have next week, and you've got a week of experience with that, and we haven't because none of us have been through this stuff. All right. It's all good, Tess. All right. Hey, everyone. Since there's no other questions, we've been on, I think, for an hour and 7 minutes now. What time we got here? We got 10:05. All right, we're going to let everyone go to bed. We will be here every night to answer your questions and hear your stories, all right? We're going to be locking shields with you. The whole concept of locking shields is when you're facing an oncoming charge from bad guys. Back in the day, everyone used to lock shields, get nice and tight, and then you could withstand anything, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to lock. We are your support network. You are not alone. You are not alone. You have your Trident Shield family and Shield maidens and Shield brothers. All right. See you tomorrow, TA. We will not be doing a 9 a.m. show. We're only going to be doing the 10 o'clock, and we're only going to be doing it on YouTube. For those of you who haven't joined yet.
Can you...
Sorry, did I mess that up?
Yeah.
Sorry. We will not be doing the 9 a.m. Facebook show. We will only be doing the YouTube at 9 p.m. At 9 p.m. All right? 9 p.m. once a day. Hey, is coffee we're trying to get? We'll in softer times. I mean, we're not always going to have fires to put out here, and we'll be back. I mean, that's what I'm drinking now, and, pretty soon I'll start drinking wine and beer and, G&Ts, because God knows I could use one for my blood pressure right now. But but make sure you join the Trident Shield Guardians Facebook group. That's where we share all of our news sources and have discussions and talk about helping each other. And I'm going to start standing up regional groups where, we can have mutual aid agreements and things like that, where guys who live in regions or families who live in regions can kind of use each other's resources and that type of stuff.
So in the Guardian group, if there's, articles like McNeely posted today with a question or anything else that you want us to talk about for that night's show, that's a great place for you to compile it.
Yep. We're all family in this, and this is how we're going to get through this as Americans. One big American family leaning on each other, all right? So God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America, and God bless our leaders who are trying to get us through this, okay? So may God shelter you and protect you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, see you tomorrow. Try and chill out. And stream.